Thanks, Sophie. Hello, you're watching Wales Today. I'm Nick Savini, the headlines. Enjoying an active life before being struck down with ME, 28-year-old Thomas is now confined to bed. His mother says the impact has been devastating.
Thomas at his worst. He looked as if he was paralysed. And he would just be in bed, a dead weight. Couldn't open his eyes, couldn't talk, couldn't move.
Campaigners call for better treatment for a condition that affects thousands of people across Wales. Also tonight. How concerned are you about the rising cost of fuel? We assess what can be done to keep energy prices under control amid war in the Middle East. A Flintshire beauty spot where a green energy project has been raising eyebrows after large pieces of cabling caused an eyesore.
And there was a large pipe causing concern on the horizon here until recently, but that's now been taken down. But there's been a lot of discussion online and some concern too.
This Ceredigion community flooded 14 years ago. Now volunteers are planting thousands of trees to slow down the rainwater flowing from nearby hills.
This one shows really clearly how we hope they will work. The water is pooling up behind the dam, creating this wet, marshy area.
Hello, a big week ahead for Wales's footballers.
Good evening. We start tonight with the story of Thomas Sleep, a once active 28-year-old from Swansea whose physical deterioration reveals the devastating impact that severe ME can have. The first signs of Thomas's condition came in 2019 when he suffered some dizziness. 4 years later, his parents say it got so bad he could barely walk after going for a bath and has been in bed ever since. ME affects thousands of people in different ways across Wales. It is not known what causes it, and there is no cure. Campaigners are calling for greater availability of treatment services, as Mallory Williams now reports.
Can you Tom?
This is how every day starts for Myfanwy Sleep from Swansea. She cares for her once active 28-year-old son, Thomas, who was diagnosed with severe ME shortly before this picture was taken in 2023.
Thomas at his worst. He looked as if he was paralysed. And he would just be in bed, a dead weight. Couldn't open his eyes, couldn't talk, couldn't move.
As with many patients, they don't know what caused the illness. There is no cure.
It was 2019 and he started getting ill. Thomas was a kind of outdoor sort of bloke, so he enjoyed rugby, enjoyed football. Initially it was a kind of dizziness. He deteriorated and eventually got diagnosed with ME.
It was the year of 2023 where he became very sensitive to light and noise. Just before Christmas, he decided he wanted to have a bath. And he came downstairs and he could barely walk, and he was going from piece of furniture to the other. That was the last time. Sorry, even Ed.
Yeah, so he's...
That was the last time he could walk. So we had to carry him upstairs. Charlie and my son carried him upstairs, and he's been in bed ever since.
People with ME are invisible.
His condition is so severe that we couldn't film with Thomas. But we spoke to some of those patients living with mild or moderate ME who managed to control their symptoms.
I can't work, I can't tolerate light and noise, so on a bad day I can be in bed in the dark. It is invisible.
I came up here 100 times at sunrise to raise awareness about ME.
Two of Rob Messenger's children, who live in Carmarthenshire and are now in their 30s, live with the illness since their teens.
There is no specialist to turn to. The Welsh Government has given some funding for its 7 health boards to establish some services for people with ME and some other conditions. But without an all Wales plan, For people with severe and very severe ME, it's worse than a postcode lottery. It's really pretty much a desert.
One example of a service that's been expanded to try and plug the gap is called Living Well in North Wales.
For those in the severe and very severe categories, that means being able to provide support to the person with ME and their families or carers in their own home. There is more we need to do to ensure equitable support is available across Wales.
A Welsh Government spokesperson said that Wales is the first UK nation to extend long COVID services to people with other infection-associated long-term conditions. Proposals for an all-Wales specialist, an expert group and national standards, it added, are being actively considered.
This is a picture of him when he's just finished his triathlon.
Thomas's parents don't know what's ahead. For now, they're caring for him and holding on to precious memories in the hope that things will get better.
Millery Williams reporting there. The Prime Minister is chairing an emergency COBRA meeting with senior UK government ministers and the Governor of the Bank of England to discuss the impact on the cost of living from the war in Iran. Around 110,000 households in Wales have already been affected by a jump in the price of heating oil and drivers by rising fuel prices. Our money editor, Felicity Evans, is with me now. So, Fliss, the increased price of fuel, just one of the consequences of this conflict for people here in Wales.
Exactly right, Nick. The RAC says that average diesel prices have gone up by 29 pence per litre and petrol by over 14 pence per litre since this war began at the end of February. And drivers in Cardiff told us they were really feeling it.
I was putting £50 a week in, and now I'm putting £70 a week. Easy, easy.
How worried are you about that then, actually?
Well, you know, it's really concerning, to be honest. I mean, we'll be having push bikes soon with a trailer on the back. You know, so yeah, it's crazy.
I work 5 days a week and I fill my car up like every 2 weeks. It's just cost me about £80 or £90 a month to fill up the car.
And how much is it usually?
Usually about £40, £45.
I do 200 miles a day, so yeah, it's going to impact everybody, and it's all what for a war that we're not. It's got nothing to do with us. So Trump, I don't know what he's thinking. Basically, I mean, what's the end game?
Now, Nick, as you said, off-grid households have already been hit by heating oil price rises, and the UK government has announced a package to try to help with that, £3.8 million going to the Welsh Government as a result. Counterintuitively, energy prices for other households are likely to drop in April. That's because the Chancellor has taken some charges off bills, but the increase that we've seen in oil and gas prices likely mean that come July we'll see a rise in energy prices, and we're likely to see rising food costs as well, because when energy prices go up, of course, that feeds through to anything that takes energy to manufacture or transport to shops for us to buy. And all of those things, as we know, have been rising in price ever since the war in Ukraine, and price levels now remain a lot higher than they were back in 2022. So households have really seen their resilience eroded over the years in this cost of living crisis. Come April as well, there will be some other bill increases, think council tax and water bills, for example. So there's a lot for households to be dealing with at the moment.
Yeah, it's wide-ranging, isn't it? Look, what do you think we can expect from this evening's meeting?
Well, that is the big question, isn't it? The Prime Minister told MPs earlier that he wanted to look at what sort of help the government might be able to offer with energy bills. But, you know, there is a big question mark over the UK government's room for manoeuvre here, because they are already paying high rates of interest on their existing debt. Around £1 in every 10 that the UK government spends already goes to service its debt. So there is a lot of uncertainty over how all of this is likely to play out and how much help ministers will end up offering. Oil prices did fall slightly today after President Trump suggested constructive talks had taken place with Iran, although Iran denies that those talks have taken place. And the Prime Minister said he was telling his team not to engage in what he called a false hope that the war might end soon. But despite that warning, I think everyone in that COBRA meeting this evening will have everything crossed that it ends as soon as possible.
Indeed. OK, Felicity, thanks very much. More Welsh language content is needed in the digital spaces where young people spend their time if the language is to grow. That is one of the messages in the latest report from the Commission for Welsh-speaking communities. The report looks at increasing opportunities to use Welsh in communities where Welsh speakers are in the minority. The Welsh Government, which commissioned the report, says that it lays the foundation for the language to flourish all across Wales.
We know that about 55% of Welsh speakers live in areas where under 40% of the population speaks Welsh. So that's about just over half our Welsh speakers. We want to make sure that everybody living in Wales has a real daily opportunity to use the Welsh that they know and to develop their Welsh.
Now, Talacra Beach in Flintshire is famous for its lighthouse and sand dunes, but recent visitors to the area have described major construction work as causing a blot on the landscape. A large pipe was laid across the beach to help connect a nearby gas terminal with a new carbon capture project. But the firm behind it has allayed fears by confirming that the structures are temporary and all cables will be buried underground. Matthew Richards has more.
Well, people frequently come to Talacra Beach for photo opportunities with the lighthouse and views across Liverpool Bay. But the view looked very different until recently. Now, these supports behind me were being used to hold a large pipe in place, and many people took pictures and were concerned about them, thinking they'd be a permanent part of the landscape. They're actually part of a large carbon capture project which will connect to Point of Air gas terminal, which is less than a mile away. The carbon capture project simply captures the carbon to stop it escaping and having a damaging effect on the environment. Social media was ablaze over the last week or so when the work was at its height, but the pipe has now been removed and slowly the rest of the construction works are disappearing. People we spoke to today were aware of the work and weren't especially worried.
No, because it's all underground. Excuse me. Yeah, it's all underground up to Warren Farm and then to the old gas terminal. So, you know, and that's it.
Whilst at the minute it's a temporary eyesore, it's a bit like breaking eggs to make an omelette, really. Once it's done, and there should be net benefits to everybody from it, and then it's hidden and gone. I think that's pretty much it.
It's still a good bird watching site. In the next month we'll get Little Tern starting to move in. So I think it's important that all that work is complete before that happens.
Now, Eni, which is the engineering company behind the works, was keen to address a number of concerns. It said that any temporary fencing, screens or signage will be removed by the time work is complete. There'll be no visible sign that they were even here once they've done that work ahead of the connection of the carbon capture project in 2027. It's actually going to bury its cables beneath these sand dunes here. Rather than digging in from the top, it's going to drill in underneath. That means that it will avoid disrupting the sand on the surface, which could have a negative impact on the ecological environment. In fact, these are important breeding grounds for a number of species, including little terns, but the work has been timed to avoid disrupting their breeding season as much as possible.
Matthew Richards at Talacra Beach there. Still to come before 7.
And after all the recent spring warmth, a change on the way. It's turning colder and more unsettled. A full forecast on the way.
We often report on this programme on the remarkable efforts of communities across Wales responding to the impact of flooding. Well, how about this for commitment from volunteers in the village of Talybont in North Ceredigion? 14 years ago, 2 rivers burst their banks, leaving some residents out of their homes for a year. Since then, a group called the Floodies have planted tens of thousands of trees in nearby hills to try to slow down the flow of rainwater into the rivers. Craig Duggan went along to meet them.
June 2012 and the effect of a month's worth of rain in one day on North Ceredigion. In the village of Talybont, the water from the rivers Leri and Ceylan flowed through 27 houses. People who remember the devastating flooding have been planting thousands of trees in the hills above the village in all weathers.
We've literally been out here in the snow sometimes. We cancel if it's high wind and rain. We're heading to plant 12,000 trees this year, so we've now done 5 winters and 50,000 trees.
The group understands this is a long-term project. They hope their efforts will make a difference in time, but they also say they enjoy getting together like this in a community activity. This is just a fraction of the group. They have more than 70 members, many of whom experienced those devastating floods back in 2012.
The river came in and flooded the house within about 40 minutes of a period. And it was so bad that we had to climb out of the front windows. We were thigh deep in the water, and it was terrifying, actually.
After the flood, a community group, known informally as the Floodies, was formed.
Because of the lack of action in the village to form some sort of alleviation of the flood threat, we thought we'd have to do something. And obviously natural flood management was one of the options that we came up with. And out of those discussions, we started a small group of dedicated people that started planting trees. And we've got planting, and we've got also leaky dams, which are work really well. And the idea is to force the water from running over the surface to running into the ground. And it's about 50 times faster running over the surface than it is in the grounds. So if we can do that, then it's going to have a significant effect on flooding.
Woodland Trust, the tree conservation charity, funds the role of the coordinator and provides the trees which are planted on Rhodri's farm. He wants more tree cover to shade his animals, but also sees the flood mitigation benefits, with 2012 very much in mind.
We knew a lot of the people who did lose their homes at the time, and I think that's how they started thinking about getting involved, because they heard we were planting trees, and they could start thinking about planting trees across contours. So hopefully just taking the edge off when we get big flooding events, just slowing that flow of water down the hill to the village.
The leaky dams, which volunteers are building across small streams, aim to have the same effect.
This one shows really clearly how we hope they will work. So the water is pooling up behind the dam, creating this wet, marshy area. It's definitely doing its job of slowing water down.
Ceredigion Council, responsible for managing flood risk in Talabont, said it will collaborate with the community on a flood defence scheme, adding it welcomes the volunteers' work, which will continue next winter, with thousands more trees going into the ground.
There's just over 6 weeks to go until the Senedd election takes place, and as we've been reporting on this programme, there have been some changes to how we elect members of the Senedd. There'll be a different voting system and more politicians with a seat in the Welsh Parliament. So how will it all work? Here's Jennifer Jones with a guide to what you need to know before heading to the polls on May the 7th.
So currently, wherever you live in Wales, you are directly represented by 5 Senedd members. So take where I am now, for example. I'm in Cardiff South and Penarth. Here it is. It's number 9 on the map. Now, people living here have 1 constituency Senedd member, but they also have 4 regional Senedd members, because Cardiff South and Penarth is in number 4 here, which is South Wales Central. But all of that is going. The number of constituencies has been cut right down to 16, and each of these super constituencies will have 6 Senedd members. So more politicians, and the way we elect them is changing too. First past the post is being replaced by what's known as the D'Hondt formula. So in this example, Party A has the most votes, so we give them a Senedd member. We add 1 to their total number of members, which is 2, and we divide their starting number of votes by 2. So now Party B has the largest number of votes, so we give them a Senedd member. We add 1 to their total, which is 2, and we divide their 15,000 votes by 2, bringing it down to 7,500. So now Party A has the most votes again, so we give them a second Senedd member. We add 1 to their total number of members, which makes 3, so we divide their starting total number of votes by 3. Now, look, Party C has the most votes, so they get a Senedd member too. We add 1 to their total number of members, which is 2. We divide their starting total of votes by 2, and it comes down to 5,000. And so it goes on until all 6 seats have been allocated.
And would you like to put your questions to the party leaders in Wales ahead of the Senedd election? BBC Wales is holding a series of programmes where you have the opportunity to do just that. In April, join me for 2 Your Voice Live Ask the Leaders programmes, one in Haverfordwest on April the 8th and another in Llandudno on April the 15th. Scan this QR code on the screen to apply to be in the audience. And if you haven't got a smartphone, visit the BBC Shows and Tours webpage. The address is on the screen. Right, it is a huge week for Wales as they aim to reach another World Cup. And Thomas is here with this evening's sport.
Nick, thank you. Making it to a World Cup was always a childhood dream. That's what Ethan Ampadu has told us, with qualification for his second finals tantalisingly within reach. Wales face Bosnia-Herzegovina on Thursday, then a potential playoff final against either Northern Ireland or Italy. Win both games and Wales will be at the World Cup this summer.
They've done it before, winning 2 playoff matches to reach a World Cup finals. Gareth Bale and his teammates beat Ukraine to reach the Qatar World Cup. 4 years on, the same is needed again. 2 victories stand between Wales and a place at successive World Cup tournaments.
I think everyone as a kid growing up, you get excited for a World Cup and you want to play there, and like you say, to have lived through that moment of achieving it, it gives you that feeling to want to go do it again. But also when we got there, we didn't play as well as we could have. So it's that wanting to put the wrong right and making sure that we deliver the performances. But like I said, also we have to make sure that we get through Thursday first. Want to deliver those magic moments. So it's been really pleasing, even though like opposition sides throughout the league season. But it's really pleasing to see what he's been able to do this year, especially. And when you've got a player like that in your change room, knowing what he can do and what he can deliver, it's very confidence boosting.
There will be a winner on Thursday night. Should the teams be level after 90 minutes, there will be extra time, possibly penalties. The team says they will be prepared for every eventuality. Wales's last and, remarkably, only experience of a penalty shootout came 2 years ago. It ended in disappointment, with Poland denying them a place at the Euros that year.
As a goalkeeper, you're hopefully going to be the hero, and that's the mindset that I'll be in terms of if it does go down to that, then to have the confidence of coming up with a penalty save or two to help us get there. We'll be well versed in terms of how we prepare for penalty shootouts.
Darlow is dreaming of emulating the achievements of his grandfather. Ken Leake was a member of the Wales squad at the 1958 tournament.
It would give me a great deal of pride, and the family are already really proud, but it's something that, it's the pinnacle, isn't it, in terms of national football to go and play in a World Cup, and it's something that I'd love to do, and I'm hoping we can do that.
With so much at stake, it promises to be another special atmosphere on Thursday. The players told us the fans can play their part too in helping the team to the World Cup. And we'll have more from the Wales camp on Wednesday, and on Thursday the match is live here on BBC One Wales from 7:10. The traditional curtain raiser for the English football season is coming back to Wales, with the Principality Stadium hosting the Community Shield. The match is played between the winners of the Premier League and the FA Cup. Cardiff hosted the event between 2001 and 2006 while Wembley Stadium was being redeveloped. Concerts mean Wembley is not available for the match in August. The owners of the Ospreys have been given an extra 30 days to negotiate their proposed takeover of Cardiff. The initial period of exclusivity to negotiate the deal has expired. The deadline extended by the Welsh Rugby Union is now April the 22nd. She's the first Welsh athlete to become all-round champion at the Artistic Gymnastics British Championships in more than 50 years. Ruby Evans, who's 19 and from Cardiff, claimed the title at the event in Liverpool. She's expected to compete for Wales at the Commonwealth Games later this year. She says she can't get over what she's managed to achieve.
It obviously means a lot. It means that I am the best gymnast in Britain right now, which I never thought I'd ever say in my life. So it's just a really special moment, especially for Wales.
Nice one, Ruby. Well done you. Time for the weather forecast now, and Sue is with us with the latest. Hello.
Thomas, thanks very much. Well, after all the recent warm weather, there's a change on the way this week. It turns much colder and more unsettled over the next few days. Now, we had more sunshine and spring warmth today, probably the brightest day of the week, looking lovely in Llanelli this morning. But that sunshine became hazy, turning cloudy from the northwest, more overcast in Abererch in Gwynedd. Now, we still had high pressure drawing up warmer air from the Azores today, but we start to see changes tomorrow. This cold front moves south and eastwards, bringing some wet and windy weather. So tonight, dry spells, but it turns increasingly cloudy, thick enough for a little drizzle, some mist and hill fog, and a milder night, overnight lows of 7 to 10 Celsius. Now, tomorrow might start dry in the south and east, but a band of rain will spread in from the north and west, heavy at times, all moving southeastwards. Those southwesterly winds strengthening as well. Gusts over 40 miles per hour along exposed coasts, but still holding on to the mild air between 11 Celsius in Gwynedd and 14 in the Vale of Glamorgan. Tomorrow's wet and windy weather comes from this low pressure system, which eventually pushes towards Norway. And then once this has passed through, we'll see blustery showers following behind that cold front, some even wintry. And as winds turn more northerly, the air mass chart shows that we drag down colder air from the Arctic. So on Wednesday, a mix of sunshine and showers, cold enough to see the return of some hill snow above 300 metres. Otherwise, bright spells, scattered showers, some hail mixed in, and those northwesterly winds take the edge off the temperatures, 6 to 10 Celsius. Thursday may start dry and bright for many, showers easing, but clouding over from the northwest again later. Nick.
OK, Sue, thank you very much indeed. That's us today. I'll be back after the 10 o'clock news. Hope you can join me then. Until then, from all of us on the team, have a great evening.